Okay, we're going to talk about the drug culture, our drug culture here. Okay? And a few words. How many of you, first of all, what class have you talked about the word culture in? All right, geography, you guys got that right. Okay, common beliefs, the beliefs and activities that are common to members of a group. Okay, we're going to talk about the drug culture. Do we have a drug culture in America? Okay, well, I want you to read this. Is there a lifestyle of people who abuse drugs? Do you guys know, I mean, in your head, if you're thinking of the drug culture, what does the lifestyle of people who abuse drugs look like in your brain? I just kind of want you to think about that. Okay? What does the mode of dress, what does their mode of dress look like? Okay? What does their behavior look like? Okay? I want you to think about the degree also to which drugs have invaded so many aspects of our society, of the non-drug users. How have drugs invaded our society, those of us who don't use, and have influenced our culture in fundamental ways? Okay? Raise your hand if you watched a movie or any type of media dealing with alcohol, or drugs. Okay? How many of you have paid money, and how many of you know of movies that have made a lot of money off of being funny over drugs and alcohol? Okay? Clothing. Do people wear clothing with alcohol or drug reference on them? Okay? And just think of the people who make money off the movies, make money, have songs. How many of you listen to songs with lyrics in that have that? How many of you play video games with drugs or alcohol involved in them? Okay? So once again, that's part of our culture, and it's invaded it. And sometimes it's there and we don't even realize it. Okay, a couple other things that I just want you to understand that are there. When we're talking about HIV and AIDS, okay, what's one of the big risk factors? Using IV needles, okay? So do you realize that there are some places and in some cities, this is how it's invaded our culture and our society in some fundamental ways, where they are putting out clean what? Needles for who? Drug users, so they don't what? Get HIV and AIDS. So are they enabling them to use their drugs? But we are trying to help them out by giving them clean what? Needles, so they don't get a what? Deadly disease. Okay? I want you to think about that. Who's paying for those needles? Sometimes it's the taxpayers. Sometimes, you guys, I'll be honest, it's not us. Sometimes it is coming from nonprofit organizations, so it's an organization that raises money, and if you don't want to give money to that organization, you don't what? Have to. Okay? There is talk that, I've heard this a couple of times here, that the government, okay, may look at there being, giving a drug to heroin users so they don't overdose. So allowing heroin users, so if a heroin user is using, there's a drug out there that they can get so they don't overdose on it. And we're going to make that available to all heroin users so they don't what? Die. That might come from your money. And you don't use what? Heroin or drugs. But that's how it's invaded our what? Society. Now here's the thing. Do we as a government have to deal with drugs in some way, shape, or form? Or do we have to take time in the legislature and in various different places to make laws? Okay? And all those things, you guys, and to talk about those and have those things just infiltrate, all right, your life and be a part of your life, it's become more and more prominent and more discussion, and that's how it's part of your life, even if you don't what? Know about it or use it. Okay? All right, we're going to watch 5 public service announcements. Okay? And after seeing those 5 public service announcements, I want you to think of some examples or ideas or actions that are part of the drug culture. So watch them, And when you're watching them, I want you to think about what are some examples and some actions that show the drug culture. All right. Where's my... Okay, so with your side-by-side partner, I want you to talk about and discuss what are some examples of ideas or actions that are part of the drug culture that you saw. Okay, when you're looking at the first one with E, what was she going to? Party. All right? And she was given E, for whatever they said, it was going to be just fine. Nothing was going to happen to her. Okay? Next one, the girl was going out with her what? Friends. First time she left and she gave who a hug and a kiss? Mom and Dad. And she got into what type of car? First time. Okay. Second time, what'd she do to Mom and Dad? Just left and she got into a what? Limo. How was she dressed? Very scantily, but was she wearing clothes that made her look rich? Did she come from a house with two parents and like they had money, it looked like? Okay. Ideas and actions that are part of the culture. All right, then you saw the love lost. How many of you in your head, like that's the dress and that's the mode and that's the culture of drug addicts? How many of you, like in your head, when you saw that one, you go, oh yeah, that fits what's in my brain, not the first one and the second one? How many of you agree with the way they were dressed and where they were living, that fits into your thought process? Okay? But now when you saw love lost, you're like, yep, that's also part of the culture. Who got it? Who came there? Police. Right? Did the police come to the first two? No, but where did both of those first two end up? Hospital. One of them actually ended up what? Dead. The E one. Okay, and the parents had no what? Idea. Do you think parents have an idea on the love lost one? Right. But they maybe, I mean, like if that girl's your age and she wasn't living at home and she was living at her boyfriend, do you think your parents would have some clue? Okay. Part of our drug culture. Okay, then we had the medicine chest. Do you think that mom had any idea? No. Ritalin. Could that be part of the medicine chest? What was he doing with the Ritalin? Oh, he was snorting it like cocaine because people told him it was what? Safe. It helped him do what? Focus. Mm-hmm. Okay, some words that we're going to need, we're going to talk about CDC, Center of Disease Control. What's its job? Control the disease. Oh, way to flip the words around. Okay, it's a government agency. What do they do? Research. They do science projects. Science fair projects, that's their job. All right, into the origin and occurrence of disease and develops methods for how to control and how to prevent them. So if you like science fair projects and you want to make money doing science fair projects the rest of your life, there's a place for you to work. Okay, we're going to talk about the word rush. All right, the first surge in a sensation felt when smoking or injecting a drug, varying in length depending on the drug. Do people get rushes without drugs? How many of you have ever gotten a rush going on a ride at a fair? All right. How many of you have ever been on the adrenaline rush from a game or event or something like that? All right. Performance of a play, performance in a, there we go. Okay, go to the spring play. Band, choir, it can be sporting event, it can be anything to get that rush. All right? That is drug-free. Oh, is there another one down here? I think there is. Cocktail. Oh boy. No. Okay, a beverage in a solution that's made up of various drugs. And I think we talked about this, remember when we talked about drugs for HIV and AIDS, we said a cocktail of drugs is a mixture of what? Drugs. Okay, if you go right here in your book, your little gray book that you have on there, Truth About Drugs, you need to read pages 2 through 5, write down words you don't know, and when you're done, write 1 or 2 sentences that summarize what you think is the most important about the section. So your little piece of paper, and we're going to read with a partner. You're going to read with your side-by-side partner. All right, and here's how you're going to read. Chantel, you get to go with Tanner. This guy and this guy, you get to go together. And you two together. Okay, you're going to read every other sentence. Okay? So page 2 through 5, every other sentence. Any words you don't know, write them down, and then summarize it in 1 to 2 sentences. Why do you think, I want you to read this up here. How does the problem of drug culture directly or indirectly affect us or our families or affects us in the future? Okay, and then it says think about the what. Okay, why do you suppose I've been having you guys do the tweets?
To occupy our time before class. To see how it affects people in Minnesota.
Okay, yes, to occupy your time before class, but also make sure that you're doing what? You're learning
Work.
something, okay? To see how it affects people in what state?
Minnesota.
Minnesota. To do what did you say? Directly affects everybody. And I also want you to realize that it's real. And it is real in Minnesota. It's real in big metropolitan area of Minneapolis and St. Paul. It's also out in the rural areas of Minnesota that these things really do happen. Like that drug, I also want you to understand it so you guys understand that what's important. Drug education. All right, and you guys need to see that firsthand. You're hearing these people up here talk about it and tell you their story. All right, so if you don't believe them and you think whatever, they're from a big city, they're from wherever, you're reading tweets and you're sharing a tweet, and you're reading your tweet and you're writing your tweet and you're sharing your tweet and you're hearing somebody else's tweet, and you're getting that. You should be getting the idea that hey, they do affect us here in Minnesota. It does not matter, big or little. Okay. But I want you to think now with your kitty corner partner, how does the problem of drug culture directly or indirectly affect you or your family, or how is it going to affect your future? All right, so just take this time to discuss it with your kitty corner partner. You get to discuss with the 3 here. Okay, why do people take drugs? Write down at least 2, and I'm going to give you about 30 seconds here. Okay, we're going to watch 4 public service announcements. I want you to rate each public service announcement truth on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay, so, and the first one is going to be, do you think people take drugs to be cool? Do you think people take drugs to feel better? Do you think people take drugs to forget about their problems? Do you think people take drugs to be accepted by their friends? All right, so they're going to show you 4, and I want you to go, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, do you believe that's to be true? Okay, all righty, here, now I got to go back to my... Ten is the best. Yep, so 10 would be the best. Okay, here's the next one. Rate this on a scale of 1 to 10.
They said drugs will make you cool.
Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, do you believe that's true? That drugs will make you cool? Is that what? Funky. I'll probably have to play it twice. You should have rated them on the truth. Do you think people take drugs to be cool? Do you believe that's true? Do you think people take drugs to feel better? Do you think people take drugs to forget their problems? Or do you think people take drugs to be accepted by their friends? We watched this one first. That was the drinking and driving one. So discuss with your back-to-back partner your answers or your responses. Okay, so when they showed him, what would happen to his other friends? They didn't like him. Yeah, he's kind of started to be kind of mean, it looked like in that video. All right. Can you think of a time the best high? So the girl getting the best high. Did that look like a lot of fun? Okay, what was she doing in her room? Okay, breaking things, and they'll tell you it'll give you the best high. You know, and sometimes, like we said, think of that best high that you've ever had, non-drug related. Okay, did it look like that? Okay, so it didn't look like that, and they'll tell you not every high looks like that. Some of them don't. But what happens when your high wears off? That's what happens. And then what did she have to go and do? Get the what? Remember? And then she went to looked like a hotel room. Okay. The next one was, do you think, do people take drugs to forget their problems? That was the tripping one. That was the LSD one. Do people drink to forget their problems? Okay, so do people take drugs to forget their problems? Yep. Okay, did that make his problems better or worse? Because he ended up doing what? Robbing a what? Or something. Wasn't he the one with the gum? Shot somebody or did something. Did that make his problems better or worse? Okay. Accepted by their friends. All right, so think of the kid who was at a party and the guys told him, hey, you'll be really cool if you what? Drink. So he was really cool at the party, but where were those friends when he was in the bathroom stumbling and ripped down the shower curtain? They were probably just doing what with him? Laughing. They could care what? When he left the party drunk, where were his friends? They were either maybe too drunk to even figure it out. They could have cared what? Less. Okay? So, those things, the things that you hear, why you should take drugs, you just watched 1, 2, 3, 4, and you saw 4 examples of what happens when people do take those drugs. So when they tell you that you're cool, that'll make you feel better, forget your problems, or be accepted, you just saw 4 things that showed you none of those. And those people are using drugs. Okay, page 6. With your back-to-back partner, all right, every other paragraph, and then summarize it. Okay, in front of you have 2 worksheets. One says, why do people take drugs? All right, so that's what we talked about today. You need to go through, there's a front and a back side. I want at least 2 to 3, oh, there's no back side on that one? Okay. I want at least 2 to 3 sentences for each question. All right, the next one is alcohol effects, and you might want to use your book, page 34 and 35, to write down as many effects of alcohol that you can find in your book. You're not going to find them all, and that's fine because we will finish it. But on Tuesday, when you come to class, you should have, I believe there is at least 4 of those organs in your book that's talked about that you can write something. All right, so Tuesday, both worksheets are due on Tuesday. Effects of alcohol and why do people use drugs.